Okay, good evening, people. Thank you for coming in. I know we're about a half hour later than usual, but our friends here in the UK have had daylight savings not too long ago, so we knocked it back a little bit. So, thank you, Sam, for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad. Hey, Mom, I'm on the telly. Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad.
Good. I'm
Do you know?
glad. Here we are. Brett's decided to join us. Hello, Brett.
Sorry, I couldn't get my headphones to work.
That's all right.
Ugh. Are
Hello.
we live yet?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, great.
Just.
Oh.
Brett's having a few technical difficulties. He will be with us shortly.
There we go. I'm sorted, man.
Okay, good. So, who's the koala? Is that me?
That's you, yeah. That's your eyes on the koala.
Looks like my eyes. Lovely. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for joining us this evening. Yeah, as usual, we don't have a topic, but if you want to throw some questions into the chat,
No
we'll be
surprise
happy to
there,
answer
then.
I've had a busy week.
Yeah, I bet you have.
Does
Yeah, I
I have no idea. I don't. I have no idea what you're laughing at. I'm oblivious. Right.
Get with the plot, Samantha.
Well, it's not really a secret anymore, anyway. I hope everyone's doing well. I think I've already said that.
Well, if it's not a secret anymore, you best explain to Sam what we're laughing about.
I'm lost.
So I've had an extra person to take up my spare time.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Oh. All right.
It's amazing how a bit of nookie makes you giggly, isn't it?
Oh, shut up. You're shocking, Brett. It made me go all red. So, just in case my dad's watching this.
Hi, Dad.
Hi, Dad.
Are you proud of me yet? Sorry. We best get on with the show. Hello, Carol. How are you? So, has anybody seen anything interesting this week in headlines, stories, anything like that they want to talk about?
Do you know, I don't think I've seen anything paranormal at all this week.
Mm-hmm.
I've been, to be honest with you, I've been busy playing Star Citizen, so I've literally shut everything else off the internet.
Is this a new game?
Yeah, I totally forgot it was Saturday, you know. It was only the fact that the notification popped up when I turned on YouTube, because I hadn't got Facebook or anything turned on. I totally forgot it was Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good timing, actually, that I turned the computer on when I did. And that was why I was dashing around, and then I couldn't get my headphone to bloody work, and then I was trying to pick a new picture, and then I thought, shit, it's past the time it's supposed to be live.
We're meant to be live. I actually did knock it back a half hour, like my time.
Yes, thankfully.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't followed the paranormal stuff because, as you know, I think the YouTube paranormal is a bit of a dumpster fire. But I did have personal experience, which, the last couple of nights have not been very restful sleep, to be honest with you.
No, I haven't either, Sam, to be honest. I ain't been sleeping. I don't know why.
Well, I woke up to footsteps and shuffling very, 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 very close by. And I woke up and I says, will I go in? It sounds like an intruder, like. And it sounds like it's in the sitting room and that.
Weird.
And I had my airsoft gun on the the uh, chest of drawers, and I grabbed that, and I come in here, guns drawn, and just pure silence. I go back to bed, and it starts again, footsteps and shuffling. Now, I'm a paranormal investigator, but when stuff like that happens in your house, your house is it's a place of your own comfort and serenity and stuff
It's
like that.
sanctuary,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, you don't really want unknown things happening in your house, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking into logical explanations. Nobody was living downstairs, and the apartment down below, they got all their windows smashed, and they have temporarily moved out, so there's nobody down there. So I don't know what it was.
It's weird.
It was heavy footsteps and shuffling, as if, like say an intruder coming in and trying to find money or something in your house. But yeah, I was on edge for a couple of hours, and then when you try to go back to sleep, you can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
It does make you wonder though, Sam, if doing what you do, it's their way of letting you know that they're around, sort of thing.
Well, if that's the case, they're probably making noise and saying, "Sam, why haven't you turned on the radio and given us an opportunity to talk, because you haven't in the last month?"
Yeah. See, because it's interesting you saying that, because Jace made a comment to me went not long after I moved in here, and I hadn't been doing any paranormal stuff, and nothing had happened, sort of thing. And then I started doing the paranormal shows again, and literally within a few days, we started having stuff happening. And Jace actually said to me, and Jace ain't involved in any of this, and he said, "Do you think it's because you're doing the YouTube stuff again?" And it is actually an interesting thing to think about, because I'd done nothing for 3 months. There'd been nothing in the house, no sounds, nothing weird happening. Perfectly normal. Within a couple of days of me doing restarting the shows, things started happening again. And it does make you wonder if by doing this, you do attract things. It is something to think about.
Yeah.
That's been a question for a long time in the paranormal, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, like, a lot of people get on with everyday life. They don't think about the paranormal and that, and nothing happens. And some people think about the paranormal a lot, and they get stuff. And then the people that are not interested in the paranormal are saying, "Oh, that's psychological stuff."
Yeah.
You're making something out of nothing, kind of thing. But you have people that are not interested in the paranormal experiencing paranormal, and there's photographic evidence of that.
Yeah.
There's a guy just lives across the street. I was talking to him a couple of weeks ago, and he just happens to be the guy that took the famous photograph of there's an abandoned mansion down here, and there was a famous photograph taken where there was an apparition in an upstairs window, and this building does not have any floors. They've all collapsed a long time ago. So he was actually the guy that took the photograph, and I was talking to him for a while. It was very interesting, because he actually watches my content and stuff, but I had never spoken to him until recently, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So so some people, they go out and they take a picture of something in nature. Next thing they see something quite bizarre, and I'm not talking about just pareidolia and that. There's a lady who took her kids out to the old abandoned railway lines here, and was taking a picture of the kids in some wooded area, and there was an apparition of a soldier in the photograph.
Mm-hmm.
And we do know that ships used to come into the river bank here at the city to get supplies and go for beer at night time and cigarettes and supplies and stuff, and a place stay overnight and then get back on the ship and go off to where they're supposed to be going. So and it was a very distinctive uniform with the you could see the buttons and everything. It was quite a weird photograph, but I don't have it. I don't have it lined up.
Yeah. I find a lot of the time, a lot of the people who tell you stories about experiences they've had are probably the last if you had to list people, they would be the last person you would ever think of who'd actually, admit to anything like that. I used to work with a guy who owned his own coaching company, and he actually was the test instructor for me when I took my bus driving license. And then I found out later that he was actually the person who had experienced a really famous haunting close to where I lived at a place called Holby Chase. And he was driving down the road one night, and a guy on a horse galloped past him in like 17th century costume in the road as he was driving down the road. And when he looked across, there's a famous house in the area called Holby Chase, and it was on fire. And he even called the fire brigade. And when they got there was no problems with it. It had been converted into an old people's home. And it turned out he was witnessing an episode that was actually connected to the gunpowder plot, Guy Fawkes.
Oh.
And when they tried to, because what a lot of people don't realise is a lot of the people involved in the gunpowder plot with Guy Fawkes were from the Midlands, where I'm originally from. And after it failed, they fled back to the Midlands and hid in various places in the Midlands. One of the places they hid in was Holby Chase. The King's men actually came to capture him, and there was a musket fight between the people in the house and the royal soldiers, and apparently a musket struck a barrel of gunpowder in the house and ignited, and Holby Chase caught fire, and that was what he was witnessing. And what the guy on the horse, they believe, was actually Gideon Grove, who was the only guy who escaped from the attack by the Royal Soldiers on horseback. And he was the most stoic bloke you would ever meet. He'd got no sense of humour. He never joked, never did anything like that. But he actually came forward in the end and admitted what he'd witnessed. So you can never tell who's going to witness these kind of things.
That is correct. Yeah, and it seems to be always too, not all the time, but a lot of the time, genuine photographs and that you see are from people who weren't looking for the paranormal.
Yeah.
It's just something that's popped up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, you do get a lot of pareidolia in that, but you can get some really clear stuff as well, like, on the very rare occasion, like, and it's mind-boggling,
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Irish. Hello, Tiger.
Oh, Greg, how are you? Long
Yeah.
time no see.
Yeah.
Hope you're doing well. I understand.
Ages.
Yeah, I understand he moved some time ago. I hope you're doing well. It was the last video I seen. You still had stuff in boxes and stuff. So, hope you're doing well.
Do you think with modern equipment has made it more difficult, and modern technology has made it more difficult in the paranormal? Because now you look at photos and stuff, and the first thing that pops in everybody's head is, "Oh, that's photoshopped."
I think the best way I could word it is modern technology has complicated the paranormal, very much so. Yes.
Yeah, it's made it easier in one way to prove or disprove because there's now cameras everywhere, and as you know, I'm a big advocate for the camera being one of the most important pieces of electronic equipment in the paranormal. I've even went out and done paranormal investigations by just walking around and scanning an area with a camera. I love doing that stuff because bringing a load of stuff in your bag and setting up equipment and stuff, I'm not into that when it's out open space. I'm out scanning the area. That's me. But a lot of people don't understand that. When you go out into woods and stuff like that, you don't just pick a spot and start putting flashy balls on a park bench and leave your camera there all the time. You got a big area of real estate. You gotta scan it all out. You know. But we got cameras in our cars. We got cameras in our houses. We got cameras in our gardens. We got cameras everywhere, and that makes that's casting a bigger net than we were in the past. And we're all carrying around cameras and our phones and stuff.
Yeah.
So we got more stuff, but we got more technology to trick it as well.
Yeah.
You know.
The thing is, even video editing nowadays, it's in the realms of everybody. At one time, you need to fake actual video, you would need thousands and thousands of pounds worth of equipment. Nowadays, anybody with a mobile phone can do it.
I mean, who ever thought in the 1980s that in the future we would have our own TV show?
Yeah, exactly.
From our own house,
exactly.
Yeah.
I remember getting my first mobile phone when I was still married. And, we shared this, and it was a brick. It was a BT phone, big, massive brick. And all you could do on it was send short text messages and phone people. Now look what you've got full blown editing suites on video editing suites on mobile phones now.
Yeah.
And that's in what, 20, 30 years? Where are we going to be in 20, 30 years' time? Are we going to be in the realms of, holographics and stuff like that?
Yeah. When you look at early shows like Knight Rider, where the car is all done up with all this technology, it was all about buttons because that's what they thought the future would be.
Yeah.
Just all buttons.
Yeah.
And it turned out it wasn't. It was actually touch screen, screens and stuff. You look at cars, even vehicles now, it's all about the big tablet in the middle kind of thing.
Yeah.
That controls everything, But we all have, I remember the first phone I had, and, I had a good job at the time, and it was kind of considered a bit posh to have a mobile phone because it was at its sort of beginning and that.
Mm-hmm.
And same as that, it took calls, sometimes very badly.
Yeah.
It had messaging and had a couple of games like Snake on it and stuff like that. That's basically it. There was no such thing as a camera on a phone. A computerized phone where you can go on the internet and you can actually stream from your phone and all that kind of stuff. I didn't see any of that coming, but it came in a very, very short period of time. But we're still in that time. We're moving forward. We're moving forward with technology, and that technology possibly will help the paranormal, but at the same time, every time the technology takes a jump, there's a jump with how to fake things as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, as soon as new technology comes out, the software behind it expands, within months, sort of thing. The software rapidly catches up with whatever the new technology is. I ain't going to be around in 30 years' time probably, but it would be interesting to see. what
Eh,
sort of technology we are using in 30 years' time, considering the jumps in the last 30 years.
Do you think that there will ever be um, a way to test whether or not we're able to identify exactly what we're talking to?
No,
No, neither do I.
no.
That's what makes it really difficult too, is the fact that you don't know what you're talking to, and how do you prove that you're actually talking to something? Like,
Hmm.
you prove it's legit.
Yeah, I don't think we ever will. And if
No.
anything, I think technology will take us further away, not closer.
Yeah.
Because I think if you go back to things like the Native Americans and the Mayans and all that kind of stuff, they were a lot more accepting and more spiritually based due to the fact that they hadn't got this technology. And I think the more people become reliant on technology, the further away we get from things that are more spiritually based. And I think we're getting further away, not closer to the solution.
I've seen this. There was a trial done on a. It's an energy camera, but the energy camera is about the size of a bus, and you know maybe in the future we will have that sort of technology in a compact size, which would give us more scope into what we're interested in. But in the future, we look back on the past and it will age like milk. You know, people going around with flashy balls and EMF detectors and stuff. It's going to be pretty embarrassing, I think,
Hmm.
Mm.
because the technology will. At the end of the day, you've people that are not scientists, and this is not me putting down the paranormal. We're interested in the paranormal, but we don't have a massive knowledge of science. And we're going around with equipment that may or may not interact with the paranormal. We don't have much proof of it, apart from, it reacting to our voice and our request. Can you light up these flashy balls or this EMF detector, and it flashes? But there's no way of actually sort of knowing, is that a paranormal source that's doing that? In the future we'll probably know an awful lot more than what we do now, because at the moment what we're doing is we're throwing shots in the dark.
Yeah.
Do you know? And it's not putting down the paranormal. We got a lot of amateur people that goes out and they're interested in the paranormal. They go out, and that's great. But in the future, the technology will advance and either prove or disprove what we've done in the past.
Hmm.
And that's why I say to people that are into the paranormal, do things honorably. Do things
Yeah.
do
Hmm.
things don't do it for the right reason and document it properly.
Yep.
You know,
Bex,
big,
Bex, Bex just put something there. This interested in it, and as I read it, a thought just popped up in my head. She put, "In the future, you'll know everything because you'll be dead." Lol. Now,
possibly.
and then the thought that popped up in my head was, "But is that necessarily going to be the case? Who's to say that when you die, you become all knowing? We're just presuming you become all knowing. Who's to say we don't just move on to another plane of existence, for a one of a better word? Doesn't
Mm.
necessarily mean we're going to become all knowing.
Mm.
We may be able to do things that we can't do on the physical plane. Like travel around in a thought, but
Yep.
doesn't necessarily mean that when you pass over, we're going to become all knowing.
Yeah, it's just an assumption.
Yeah.
Mm,
And
Yeah,
it's an interesting thing to think about because
it
religion
is.
likes to portray this image that when you die, you go back to God and blah, 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 and
Mm,
everything's wonderful. But that's only one assumption. It could be that you just move on. All you do is change state from physical to energy. We could be in exactly the same boat as we are now, just in a different form.
yeah,
There's no guarantees that when we die we become this all knowing being. None whatsoever.
yeah.
Sky made a good point there too, just one night. But we're all still limiting ourselves with damn rules, man made rules, and most of those rules are made through the fear of the unknown or due to someone having a negative experience.
Yeah.
Mm.
Kim's put, don't worry, when I go, I will be talking to everybody through the spirit box. That's another thing with the spirit box too. When you're doing a session, very often we have audio that we need and audio that we don't need. We're actually only beginning to start to, you know, uh, go outside of, instead of observing, to sort of investigate it more. And it's very difficult because what audio do we need and what audio do we not need
Mm.
in order to have communication? And as well as that, we don't get to a conversation like we're talking now.
Mm-hmm.
So, there is people that are passionate about it and trying to take it that little step further than that. I'm sort of just an observer on that, and I wouldn't know where to start. You sort of nearly need some sort of audio engineering background to sort of bring that sort of forward, you know?
See, the other interesting question you've got to ask yourself is why, if communication with dead people, and this is one of the reasons why I always say I am not convinced that we talk to dead people. If we were talking to dead people, there are thousands of people, millions, billions of people who have died before us, right? Agree on that?
Yes,
And there have been people as passionate as us about the paranormal and proving the paranormal. Agree with that?
yes.
Why has not a single one of these people come back and given people proof? Because a lot of these people spent their entire lives trying to prove the existence of life after death. Yet not one of these people has ever come back to give the proof, even though it was their passion in life. So that comes to two conclusions. Either you pass on to a point where you cannot come back and communicate people and we're all deluding ourselves, or there are some sort of rule system in place that prevents it from happening. That's the only two conclusions I can come to.
Yeah.
Well, if you look into the history of ITC, people like Konstantin Radiva and I can't remember the other guy's name, came back and gave uh, uh, scientific instructions on how to make things better to their colleagues and friends. You
Yeah, but
know,
nobody has come forward, Sam, with because if they had, we wouldn't be doing this now. We would know with 100% certainty that there is an existence after death and you can come back and talk to the living. But there hasn't been a single person in history who has come back and done that. Nobody has come back and given definitive proof that there is, some form of life after death. Nobody.
Like
So
someone to come back and say, this is what it's like and this is what you
yeah,
do. And yeah.
yeah, yeah. There is no definitive proof. So to me, there can only be two conclusions: either you die and that's it, that's the end, or you die, you go somewhere else, you continue in some form of existence, but there are rules in place that stop you giving proof about that place. That's the only two conclusions I can come to.
Yeah, I remember the other guy's name, Fredrik Jurgensen. They've communicated with their colleagues and friends. Konstantin Ravdiva communicated through a phone call, and it was actually recorded in that. But at this moment in time, we don't have that full, uninterrupted communication. So, our evidence is kind of limited at the moment until things are a little bit better. But there has been, and not an awful lot of people look into paranormal history, scientific-y stuff, because nobody's into the geeky stuff. Not an awful lot of people are into the geeky stuff. But there's a lot of people that have brought forward evidence that their son that died spoke to them through a recorder, or some of the paranormal colleagues of other ITC researchers have come back and give scientific electronic instructions to their colleagues and friends and stuff. And it probably isn't a very easy thing to do. But, I don't think we're at the stage where, we can pick it up like a telephone and talk to the other side or anything like that. I think we're far from that uninterrupted communication. But I think it might be possible in the future, possibly,
Beck said, why is the koala guy here in a paranormal discussion if they don't believe in the paranormal? No point have I said I don't believe in the paranormal. The point I'm trying to make is I don't, and nobody should have blind faith and just believe everything they hear, read, or say. If you don't question, you don't advance. And all I've said is there is no definitive proof that there is life after death. There is no definitive proof that we are talking to dead people. And this is the problem with a lot of people in the paranormal. They're stuck in this tiny little constricting box where the paranormal to them is just ghosts and dead people. Yep. And the paranormal is much, much more than ghosts and dead people. If anything, ghosts are, if you take the example that the paranormal was a mansion, right? Ghosts, in terms of the size of the paranormal, would be a cupboard drawer in a cupboard. In terms of the size of what it is to the paranormal. There are many aspects to the paranormal. I just personally am not convinced that we should just blindly accept that whatever comes through the spirit box is a dead person. Because we don't know that. All we can say is something is coming through that box. Something is communicating with an intelligence. No way should we, straight away presume it's a dead person, because straight away you blinker in yourself. You're making assumptions. And we certainly shouldn't be believing all this stuff that so-called mediums and stuff tell us, because they are no more informed than the person standing next to them. It's all down to personal belief.
Yeah. And I think, to add to that, people put content on YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that. And very often that, those platforms are designed for sheep followers. Everybody, somebody like the personality, and they're out ghost hunting and they're doing all their thing. And if you're a super fan, you'll believe a lot of people will believe every single thing that they do. And in the paranormal, the ghost hunting side of the paranormal, they're going out to talk to spirits and they're going out to look for ghosts and spirits.
Hmm.
And that is, putting your mind on a path where a lot of other people are doing it, and the reason why they're doing it is because they've copied somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, what Beck says there. You know, what you need to be is you need to look at every. You need to be skeptical.
Yeah.
Skeptical is not a bad thing. People think being skeptical is a bad thing.
And that's the
It's
problem, Sam. That is the
it's
problem. If you don't follow, if you don't follow the mainstream belief of somebody, you're an hater or you don't believe, and that is not the case. If you haven't got a good dose of healthy skepticism, you need to get your ass out of the paranormal, because you will be forever blinkered and will not be able to investigate it in the manner it needs to be investigated in. You've got to
But
question everything.
this is what makes a discussion as well. This is what makes these discussions interesting, is that sitting up here and sometimes debating everything, and it's not putting anyone down, it's not telling
Hmm.
anyone you can't believe in this because this
Yeah.
is what we don't believe in. It's having an opinion and differences of opinions
Hmm.
and discussing them. We
Yeah.
don't always have to agree,
Yeah.
but we don't have to argue about it either.
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly. Do I believe in ghosts? Yes. Do I believe that everybody talks to ghosts through spirit boxes? No. I believe it's a possibility, but I'm not saying that is what it is. It's just one of an alternative amount of things you could be communicating with through a spirit box.
yeah. I mean, like I've had the communication before that apparently I'm dead and
Yeah.
they're alive. That
Hmm.
happened to me twice. So this other dimension that we're talking to could be a completely, it could be the same world as we're in, but in a different frequency. It's a bit like radio stations tapping into those different levels and that.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah. That
You
that
know.
is actually a good analogy, Sam. Like, a radio scanning for stations.
Yeah.
You're
Just
hearing something, but you can't definitively say what you're hearing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when you tune out, it doesn't mean it's not there. It's just that you're on the different frequency, and you've got no contact with it.
Hmm.
You know. It is a very very difficult one, and this is one of the reasons why in most cases I've walked away from looking at other people's paranormal ghost hunting stuff, because I need to clear my mind,
Yeah.
because for years I've been following other people and making a fool of myself. I'm making the same mistakes they did, and I sort of even went back to basics where it's just a camera walking around. You could pick up something, but it could be a spirit, it could be Bigfoot, it could be any number of things. But I didn't pollute it by saying this is what I think it is. It's a spirit over there. You know, when you're labeling something, you need to be very, very careful that you know exactly what you're doing. And very often in the paranormal, it's very difficult to say that you know exactly what you're doing. So I'd be very, very careful of labeling, even putting the label paranormal on something, because there could be a logical explanation that we just
Yeah.
didn't figure out. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and we're not putting a negative spin on the paranormal. We love the paranormal, but just being skeptic is a very healthy thing, because it opens your mind to other possibilities that you wouldn't otherwise look at.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah. And this is the thing, Sam. You in the paranormal by its nature is it's not explainable at the moment. That is what the defining element of paranormal is. And if you give yourself such a narrow-minded view, you might as well pack it in, because you're never going to break unless you're prepared to break out of that tunnel and question everything. You're never going to get anywhere. You're behaving like a religious zealot in a way. You've got these set of beliefs, and you're not prepared to to even consider alternate explanations. Let's use the spirit box as an example. Like I said previously, we know that something comes through that box.
Mm.
You ask questions, you get answers. We know there is some form of communication going on through that box.
Yes.
You cannot, in any way, shape, or form, immediately jump to the conclusion that you are speaking to dead people. Same with mediums. They have absolutely no proof they are speaking to dead people. None whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're not speaking to anybody. They could quite well be receiving information from somewhere,
Mm.
be it alien or whatever. But they immediately jump to the assumption that they are talking to dead people. They also jump to the conclusion that these people are all knowing and all right, that what they say has got to be true. And again, you jump into an assumption. For all you know, these people could be lying to you for their own agenda.
Mm.
You can, unless you can 100% verify what these people are, or whatever these things are. I won't say people, whatever is communicating to you, all you can honestly say is you are receiving communication from something. You cannot say it's a dead person. You cannot say it's the God's own truth, for want of a better term. All
Yeah.
you can say is that you're receiving something, and they are saying this is how it is. You cannot presume that what they're telling you is 100% correct or 100% right.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think a lot of the evidence, and I think a lot of the people that are into the paranormal, like us, have had, and I presume a lot of people in the chat have had paranormal, unexplained events that were personal experiences.
Yeah.
And if you ask us or them to prove it, we can't, because it was a personal experience. We were off guard. We couldn't record it. We couldn't video it. We couldn't. But it's never left our mind, and we have this question in our head: what was that happened 10 years ago when I was in Auntie Mary's house, or when I was in that castle, or when I was walking along the beach, or whatever? It never leaves you. The question is always there.
Hmm.
The evidence isn't always there, because a lot of the time we're off guard. We experience things where we have no way of documenting it. We can only tell the story, and that's happened to millions of people, lots and lots of people. Do you know? It doesn't mean that they're not true.
Yeah.
It means that they weren't documented, and that's why people started to try and document these things.
Hmm.
You know?
But it's pointless getting defensive when people question you, because all that shows is that you are blinkered, and that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. If you truly want to investigate something, and it's there in the name, paranormal investigator. Investigator means you have got to maintain an unbiased opinion. You cannot assume anything. You've got to see both sides of the story. Now, I had that experience with what I class as a poltergeist when I was a kid. For all I know, that could have been an alien, you know, coming to visit me. I don't know. But me personally, I choose to believe it because of what happened, and over the period of months. I would class it personally as a poltergeist, but I cannot say with 100% certainty that's what it was.
Mm.
All I know was for 8 months I experienced something, which ended up with a full blown apparition at the end of it, and that's all I can say. But I choose to call it a poltergeist. But if someone turned around to me and said, "Oh, do you think it might have been an alien come to visit you?" I wouldn't straight away go, "Oh, don't be stupid. I know what it is. It's a poltergeist." I would consider that fact because it is another explanation as to what it could have been. I personally choose to believe it was a poltergeist, but it could quite easily turn out to be something else.
Hmm.
And this is where you've got to be open minded. And if it, and if I start to get defensive and go, no, 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 it was a poltergeist because the poltergeist told me, who's the stupid one there? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yep.
I think. Do, do you remember the time that it was a couple of years ago where I had my setup sort of this way, and I was recording a video where a ball of paper flies straight past me
Yeah, I remember
Yep.
that. I remember
and
that.
hits the computer beside me and stuff like that, where nobody was in the room. It was just
Hmm.
myself and my dog. I'm an antisocial person, but
Admit it, Sam. You trained the dog to throw balls of paper.
that's the thing. But to me that's a personal
Yes.
experience
Hmm.
because I only could document half of it because I didn't prove that there was nobody else in the house.
Hmm.
But I can 100% promise you that there was nobody else in the house.
Yeah.
But that it was part of a personal experience.
Hmm.
The paranormal, it is real.
Yeah.
It is
Oh yeah.
definitely real.
Yeah.
But don't just jump on the bandwagon. It was the
Yeah.
spirit of
Yeah.
my
You've
late.
got no proof that that was a spirit that threw that paper. All
No,
you could say with 100% certainty was that a piece of paper was thrown behind you or
I
moved
can
behind you.
I can believe it is, but
Yeah,
scientifically I can't say it that it
yeah,
was.
exactly,
Mm.
You know, but
exactly.
this is why we're here. We're fascinated by unexplained things of all kinds. Not
Hmm.
just what we would consider possible spirit activity.
Yeah,
There is loads and loads. There's the category of the paranormal is
yeah.
vast.
Well, let's take your paper thing as an example. And I remember that video. I remember when it happened.
Mm,
Right, you could say it was a spirit, which is one explanation, right? But who's to say it wasn't because you were talking about the paranormal at the time and you were doing paranormal, that it didn't trigger something in your mind that caused a telekinetic event, which again is still paranormal,
Mm.
yes,
you know. And
or
this is the point I'm trying to make. There is no one explanation, and you cannot immediately latch onto one and declare that's what it is, because there are many explanations. Obviously, there's not really a normal explanation for that one. You could
no,
say, oh, that Sam had got a big fan and it blew the paper across, but then your hair would have been blowing and stuff like that. So
Yep.
there are ways you could say, well, you cannot 100% say it was a paranormal event because there are natural events that could cause it, right?
yes,
But there was nothing to indicate those sort of things were happening in the house. All you can say is that paper flew. You cannot say how it was done. You can't say it was a spirit. You can't say you did it yourself using telekinesis or whatever. But either one of those two explanations are still paranormal in nature.
yeah. Like we can come to a guess that possibly it may have been a spirit and they were
Hmm.
trying to get my attention because the
Hmm.
the paper was coming in my direction.
Yeah. But then you
To
can also say it was your mind because you were your mind was in that frame of paranormal triggered something else. So the fact that you're saying it could have been a spirit is 100% correct. But it's
Yeah.
also 100% correct. It could have been you performing telekinesis. So you cannot put emphasis on one or the other.
Mm.
You can believe one or the other, but you cannot say with any definitive certainty that one or the other of those two explanations is more likely than the other, because they are both as likely as the other one, both because they're paranormal.
Or could it be that it was a kind of a time warpy thing, and
Yeah,
the paper was going back to where it was supposed to be?
exactly. And every single one of those have exactly the same weight as an explanation until you can definitively prove that one of them is exactly the reason. And this is the point I'm trying to make. With the paranormal, you cannot be narrow minded and immediately jump to the assumption that it's one thing or another. You can say it could be, but you can never say with 100% certainty that that is what it was. All you can say was that paper flew past, you believe it was paranormal, but you don't know what area of the paranormal it was.
Yeah. Mandy has put there, I have been in places and have felt stuff that I can't explain. Some people are kind of sensitive, and you kind of, if you go into somebody else's house, say if you go into your friend's house, you feel something that you
Mm-hmm.
can't explain.
Yeah,
The energy in different people's houses and different places is kind of, it's very hard to explain it, but you can feel a difference in different places, you know? And that thing, uh, feeling that experience of, it feels kind of weird in here. you cannot you cannot fully document it, because that in itself is it's a personal experience,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah. And everybody on this channel has probably had their own experiences, no doubt about it.
Oh yeah.
But nobody, myself included, can say with any certainty that what I experienced is what I think it was. All I can say is that something paranormal happened, and that is the only thing I can say with 100% certainty. Was I experienced a paranormal event? I cannot really define what it was. I can say what I believe it was, but I cannot say that is definitely what it was.
Would you say that if you considered being a paranormal investigator a job, that is the most difficult job in the world, because there's no instructions, and
Yeah.
the, there's, do you know when you
Well,
do a job, when you do a,
the definition of paranormal is unexplainable by current scientific means. So you're doing a job that's trying to explain what is currently unexplainable.
yeah, if you go to a job and you're waiting tables, you get these instructions of how to wait to serve food.
Yeah.
But you don't get instructions here, like, you just don't. And you have to try everything for yourself and that. And I think that's what makes it one of the most difficult things in the world, because you're not we're not getting a massive amount of help from science, and you don't have a manual for any of this. Any other job that you do, you get instructions, you get a step-by-step way of doing things. You just don't with this. Because I think we're still, even though, people have been doing this for many, many, many years, we're still at just the beginning of it,
Yeah.
where we're trying to figure all this stuff out. And sometimes this all takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe in the future there might be more definites, but because there's not very many definites, in fact there mightn't be any definites at all,
Mm-hmm.
it makes it very, very confusing.
Yeah, Beck's put there, everyone has had their own experiences, and these experiences should be respected, not questioned. I partly agree with that, Beck. Everyone's experiences should be respected because they've had the experience. Should they not be questioned? No, they shouldn't. They should be questioned.
Mhm.
Because if you don't question what the experience and what caused it, you're going nowhere.
Well, if we didn't question it, would you believe everything you saw on YouTube?
Exactly. That is the exact point. No, but questioning is not disbelieving, and this is what makes me laugh when people get defensive and start, getting sarcastic and edgy and stuff. Just because you're being questioned doesn't mean you're not being believed. They're
Mm.
not questioning the experience. They're questioning you should be questioning what caused the experience. And
Mm. What happened?
you certainly shouldn't be sticking it in a box and saying this is what caused it, because you don't know. All you can say is you had that experience and you couldn't explain it. And the first thing you should actually do is question what caused it. Question why it happened. You shouldn't just say that, oh, this happened, I believe it's this, stick it in a box, that's what it was.
Yeah,
Because you're going nowhere. You're going
that's
nowhere then.
and I think that's what happens with about over 80% of YouTube. Yeah, you have people that are interested in the paranormal, but I think the word investigator is thrown around a little bit much.
Mm.
Observer might be a more appropriate word, where they want to experience the paranormal, but they just don't want to get into the scientific
Yeah,
possibilities. So there might be something
yeah.
else. They're out, and it's like ghost hunting. They're out hunting for what they label as ghosts.
Mhm.
They want to experience something. They don't want to go into the nitty gritty of what it possibly is and blah blah blah. They just want something weird to happen and leave it at that. They don't want to get all sciency and that. And I
Hmm.
think that's maybe true about 80%, maybe. Would I be
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. There
You
are
know?
two. There are two. You are right. There are different types of people in the paranormal. There are those who want to just watch it. There are those who want to watch it just for the entertainment side of it, the entertainment value of it. They find it interesting and entertaining. Then you've got those people who want to investigate it and are prepared to see, to view it from all angles, not just presume it's one thing and nothing else. Then you've got those who want to exploit it, either for money or personal gain or making themselves feel special or whatever. And then you've got those who are ambivalent towards it. There are just so many people in the paranormal. It's untrue.
Yeah. I would consider myself as more of an observer than anything else. I know I've got all this stuff here, but at the end of the day, you know, when you go to investigate, it sometimes gets very confusing.
Hmm.
Where do you go with the possibilities and how do you investigate it? And with the ITC, you kind of get limited if you're not a audio engineer and don't know what the big geeky guys are talking about. But
Mm.
you're willing to do a spur box session and leave it at that, and whatever comes out comes out.
Hmm.
That to me was observation, and that's why I changed my second channel to observation,
Hmm.
observatory. That's that's what I do. It's you're going down a rabbit hole when it comes to investigating, the possibilities,
Oh yeah.
because you don't know. It's very very difficult to know where do you go with something that you don't know much about in the first place, if
Hmm.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Mm.
All you can do, all we can do on the investigation side at the moment is list the possibilities of what you think it could be, and no doubt you're going to miss hundreds of others that it could be. Not it's not just because you say it's not a spirit, you're not saying it's not paranormal. All you're saying is you know spirit. Putting it down to a spirit is just one possibility. And this is why I am wary of people who's and I've got to include mediums in this. When they sit there and they say, oh, the spirit world told me this and the spirit world told me that, you have got absolutely no proof whatsoever that it's the spirit world telling you anything. All you can say is somebody is telling you something. Something is telling you something. You cannot say with any certainty that it is the spirit world telling you. For all you know, it could be aliens transmitting it directly into your mind. That is just as likely as it being a dead person doing it.
Or you got
An
frequent
alternate, an alternate reality,
or
whatever.
free. Yeah, you got these frequencies that can vibrate your eyeballs, and you
Yeah,
see stuff.
yeah. It's still classed as paranormal, but you know, people are just too quick to put everything down to the spirit world. And the spirit world is only one explanation within the paranormal field.
I think the reason why people, you know, throw around the word spirit world in so much is because people want to believe that there's something after
Yeah,
this existence.
it's a psychological comfort, Sam. Nobody
Mm,
wants to believe that when you die, that's it. Nobody wants to believe you're here for a set number of years and then it's all over, you die and there's nothing.
yeah,
You know,
there's
that
there's
is that's why the spirit, the belief in life after death is so prevalent because people want that comfort. I personally believe there is life after death. I don't personally believe that these people are sitting there on the other side, coming back to certain individuals to give them guidance for the benefit of humanity.
yeah, there is lots of evidence to say that there is something after this world. There's
Yeah,
loads of evidence, but
yeah,
we kind of need more of that stuff.
yeah, yeah,
To say yes, that's definitely happening.
yeah,
There's loads and loads of stuff. If you go back over history, which people don't seem to want to do in the paranormal, there's loads and loads of evidence of EVPs and direct radio voices and other experiences that would suggest that there is something after this life.
yeah,
But we need more of that stuff to
yeah,
say that it's definite. Do you know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah, yeah. For me personally, I've got no doubt there's life after death. I had that near death experience. For me personally, that was proof for me. That was personal proof for me, right? But I cannot say that I believe that the people over there are sitting there watching us, giving us instruction on what to do. Because if that was the case, if the spirit world was all knowing, all benevolent, all this, that, and the other, why haven't they intervened by now?
Yeah. Hello, PAT.
You know, I believe that people can come back and visit their loved ones alive on this side. I do believe that when you pass over, you maintain the you part, your consciousness. I think you can maintain that as an individual when you pass over. Can I come back and if I passed away today, could I come back and influence people on this side of life? Who knows? But the evidence at the moment is saying no,
Mm.
because at this point there would have been more intervention from that side if they could physically do it. I think there would have been proof from that side if they could actually do it. There is something there that is either blocking them or, they may be as cut off from us as we are from them, for all we know.
Mm.
They may have the ability to know what's going on over here, but there is no proof whatsoever. Well, the proof is more to the point that they can't, that they have any influence on what happens over here. Because there's been, in the entire history of humankind, there has been no direct evidence of intervention, none whatsoever.
Yeah.
Mm.
When it comes to what I was saying earlier on about evidence and stuff, and I do ITC here, and I says, can you see me? And they says, we can see you. And then I says, right, for a lot of people that would be enough. That'd be really, really. I says, right, I'm going to challenge this. Right, if you can see me, what is sitting right beside me? And there's a dog, and I'm going, and I turn the camera, and I says, oh my God, there's a dog lying beside me. There it is.
Yeah.
And here's where the problem is. That's fantastic. It proves to me that something out there can see me.
And that's that. Hang on, let me stop you
But
there, Sam. That is exactly right. Something can see
yeah,
you.
but the, when it comes to the science part of it, I can't repeat the experiment because it's just the paranormal is kind of random. You can't, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
With science, you have to repeat things in order to prove them.
Mhm.
And you can't. It's very difficult to repeat. Paranormal, very often the paranormal events, they're unique in one way. It's one event that's never repeated in the exact same way. It may happen again in some sort of way, but it'll be in many ways completely different. So it's not
Yeah.
exactly the same.
Yeah. But see what you said there was spot on. When you said all I can say is something can see me. And that is where 99% of people make the mistake is they insert their own personal belief in at that point and they go, the spirits can see me or the aliens can see
Yeah,
me. And
yeah,
that is where the problems start because straight away they don't consider any alternative apart from the little box that is their belief system. And that is what people have got to learn to do is to break out of that box and just say something can see me, not
yeah,
the spirits can see me or the aliens can see me. You know, if we're gonna make any breakthroughs in the paranormal, you've got to break out of that box. And everybody's got that box of personal beliefs. Now, you know, I've got it, you've got it, Julie's got it. We've all got
yeah,
our box of personal beliefs, but
Mm.
everybody has got to learn to think outside that box before
yeah.
we're going to move any way forward. Because
Mm.
we know otherwise we're going to be no better, and this is going to piss a lot of people off than organised religion, who've
Yeah,
got a set of doctrines and nothing is acceptable outside those doctrines. And that is what we've got to learn to break out from. You've got to learn to start thinking outside the box.
I'm going to come off for a little minute and make myself a cup of tea, and it'll give Julie a chance to get in on the conversation because it was, you know, just to give Julie a chance to add her piece to it. You know what I mean?
I've been typing in the chat too, talking to
All right.
everyone.
Yeah. I'll be back in a second. I just want to make a cup of tea for myself.
All right. No, I had to bite my lip a couple of times and just sit back and actually think about what I was going to say because um, some of the comments sometimes come off a little harsh, and you kind of have to pull yourself back and think, well, how can I say this as tastefully as possible? You know what I mean?
Go on, say it. What did you want to
Oh
say?
no, it was just when Beck was going on before, and she kind of said something about you once, and I deleted the comment,
Oh,
and then she was,
for me, that is just proof when people are being narrow-minded.
yeah, and it's like as you guys said in your conversation as well. Not everything is black and white. It's like if I went into YouTube and I said, okay, I'm just going to believe everything I see because it looks, because they demand and they deserve me to believe them. It's not really the paranormal.
Hmm.
It's just entertainment,
Yeah.
like a lot of it.
See,
So,
what a lot of people tend to do is the second that you question what they personally believe, and I'll tell you something, Julie, the amount of times I have changed my opinion on something after a conversation with somebody
mm,
because they've said, well, have you considered this? And when I've thought about it, I thought, you know what they're saying actually makes more sense than what I believe. And I've changed an opinion on something, but it
mhm,
is still only an opinion. And just because it's these people who immediately brand you a disbeliever. The second
mm,
you say, well, you've got no proof of that, it doesn't necessarily mean I don't believe what their experience. I just personally don't think that they should restrict themselves to the point where that's their only belief. Without considering that there could be other explanations, all of them paranormal.
Mm,
It doesn't make you a disbeliever in the paranormal if you're skeptical about somebody's belief system. You
mm,
just don't personally believe their particular set of beliefs.
mm.
Like I've said before on mediums, I don't believe that 99% of the people who claim they're a medium are a medium. I think 95% of them are just doing it for attention. And this is going to offend people, but I'm sorry. 95% of the people on YouTube who claim they're a medium are either doing it for money, attention, self grandiose reasons, or a combination of the previous three. But I have met people in my life who I honestly believe have been communicating with what most people would consider dead people. But I could count them people on one hand. That is what I'm saying. Just because you don't necessarily jump to their conclusion does not make you a disbeliever in the paranormal. It just means that you consider other options could also be plausible. Their their belief could be right, turn out to be right, but it is only one of a number, and it's an infinite number of other explanations, all of which could still be paranormal.
Yeah.
And that is what people need to do. You've got to understand that just because you believe
Mm,
something, or just because you believe you've been told something, doesn't make that 100% bona fide the truth. There is no proof that these communicators are being 100% truthful with us. They could be just like us. They you know take any cross section of humanity. You get people who love to be honest. You get people who can't help themselves but lie compulsively, and then you get the people who sit in the middle and most of the time tell the truth, but will lie if it benefits them or if it's a kindness to somebody.
mm.
And the pot the chances of other people being like that is more likely than them. As I say as I've repeatedly said in the past, there's this belief that people turn into Mother Teresa the second they die. There is absolutely no proof that happens. Personally, I believe what you like in life is what you like in death. So if you were a compulsive liar and a psychopath in life, you're probably going to be a compulsive liar and a psychopath in death. But that is just my personal opinion. And if they are coming back and communicating with people on this side and in this dimension, they could be lying to you. And you're sitting there thinking, oh, it's a dead person, so they've got to be telling me the 100% bona fide truth. And this is where I say you've got to start thinking outside the box. You can believe what you want, but you've also got to accept that there are an infinite number of alternate possibilities to what it could be. Nobody's saying don't have a belief and don't believe this is what you think it is. Say this is what I believe it is, but be open to the fact that you may be wrong and there is another explanation for it.
Mm.
Does that clarify it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um,
100%.
it brings me back to, a lot of people get introduced to the paranormal through platforms like YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Most influencers, paranormal influencers on YouTube, the bigger channels and stuff, they're surrounded by yes people. You, being surrounded by yes people is a bad thing because they will look up to that person and not question a single thing.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Sam. What you're
Yeah,
saying is 100% right. If you surround yourself with yes people, you end up limiting yourself because if you haven't got people questioning you, how can you advance and learn? Because they're just agreeing with everything you say. And like
yeah,
I said while you went for a cup of coffee, I just said to Julie, I have lost count of the times I have had paranormal discussions with people and I have changed my opinion on a subject based on what they've said to me. Because once I've listened to them, I've sat there and thought, that their explanation is actually better than what I currently believe. And that has happened to me countless times. And
Yeah.
that's what, what you're saying about yes men, it ties into that.
But I think at the same time, if you have some sort of evidence, first of all, it's important to be honest and say,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what this is. And then you get these keyboard warriors that come in and say, prove it. Well, I'm afraid in most cases, the burden on proof is on you, not me. I've presented the evidence here. You do what you want with
Yeah.
it.
It's up to them to make their own conclusion.
And this is why I don't make claims. I do a spurt box session and say, bye. I didn't say, wow, guys, we seem to have got the spurs of something here that said this and that and that. I don't point anything out. I
See, and
record this.
that's the point, Sam. Sorry to interrupt you again. That is the thing you shouldn't do. You should never say the word spirit. You should just turn around and say this communicator, which is what I know you do it.
Yeah, I don't do it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you use the word communication. They should just say this communication. This is the communication. It's up to you what you do with it. Because the second you turn around and say the spirit, blah 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 blah, you've immediately put that into a box, defined it, and convinced the person that's what it is.
But the problem is the viewer, in most cases, wants it handed on a silver platter. That's why I have a channel that's not growing, because they have to actually do the work to figure out for themselves. Now I do have people that are constantly on those sessions, and they are constantly listening and stuff. It's not relaxing stuff. It's work. But a lot of other people would say, "Oh, no, this isn't entertaining me at all." But we're on an entertaining platform. People want stuff handed to them, and they want your sort of opinion on it or whatever. But when it comes to ITC, if scientists, right? First of all, they're not going to come to YouTube to look for paranormal evidence. But just say they do. They will look for a person who is clear-minded, who will present the evidence to them without their opinion on it. Present the evidence raw, and let them do their work, and let them figure things out. Rather than me saying, or the subtitles, for example. A lot of the times the subtitles are completely and utterly wrong. They could be right in other occasions, but then again, you're mixing audio with some radio snippets, and you could have hit a couple of times where you hit pot luck where it actually was the radio, but it actually answered your question. So that's why subtitles, not a great idea, but if it was a scientist looking at it, they just want the raw stuff. They don't want your opinion on it.
And on the subtitle subject, Sam, everybody's hearing is slightly different. So what one person hears, and this is scientifically proven, what one person hears is not necessarily what another person is going to hear. But you could take that a step further and say, in a paranormal tense, could whatever's communicating being, taking advantage of that and doing it in such a way that they know the person they want to hear it will hear it that way. That they could even be manipulating it to the point where they know what a person's hearing is, so they know what the person's going to hear.
Yeah.
And I do believe that certain things that come through on spirit boxes are only meant to be heard by certain people. And I do genuinely believe that.
Yeah. I think with the subtitles and stuff like that, very up there's influencers out there that are surrounded by yes people, and they take advantage of that because whatever they put on the screen, they're going to believe it, and it's all about the power of suggestion. You, that's why. To me, it's important to take that power of suggestion out.
Hmm.
You know, a lot of
and
people
and, and, and,
don't
and
like it.
that's why I say you shouldn't use the word spirits and stuff, because you straight away suggesting that that's what it is. You're using the power of suggestion verbally rather than in text form, and
That's
that is why I like when you do your session, Sam. You always say communicator,
well,
because communicator doesn't define all you're defining is what they're doing. You're not defining what they are, and that is the right way to do it, in my opinion.
to be honest, I'm going to give that credit to Joshua Sean because I copied him.
Hmm.
And because I believe he's doing it right.
Yeah.
He says every time, today we're going to do an ITC session. An ITC session is communicating with communicators of an unknown source or origin.
Yeah.
And he says that every time. And I says, that makes perfect sense. Do you know,
Yeah.
we don't call ourselves hello human being.
Exactly.
So why would we be doing it to spirits? You know, you know, a lot of people don't question things. That's why they follow the trend. They follow what everybody else is doing. But people are in the habit of doing the same things,
Hmm.
doing what's familiar to them, without stepping out of the box and thinking outside that box.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
and that's the way we learn. We learn by stepping out of the box and sometimes stepping in doo doo
Yeah.
where we get it wrong. And it's important sometimes to step in doo doo because then we figure out how we don't do things.
After I get to where we are going, Lauren. Who's
Yeah,
we?
we are
Who's
going, and
we?
I'm like, oh, he's we. No, I haven't heard. Is this Mick? Because I kind of had a feeling. Call it my intuition. Love is a Leo. Oh, maybe I just let the cat out of the bag prematurely.
Yes, I can't believe you've just named someone.
Just a first name.
That's it, Mad Classic. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I should say
I
you've hit.
know.
I should say you've hit the nail on the head there.
Congratulations. No, I saw a couple of posts not so long ago, and I was like, ooh.
Morning, Seago. Yeah, you're right. It is still morning for half an hour here.
Good morning. Oh, that's brilliant, Sky. I'm so bloody happy for you. So happy.
Oh, don't it make you want to puke, Sam? All these love-struck people around all of a sudden,
Oh,
all doughy-eyed and giggly and happy, and just pass the fucking sick bucket.
Yep.
You're like a different person today.
who?
You?
Me.
Yeah,
Oh, well, I'm happy.
I know.
Yeah,
No,
I'm always
it's
happy,
not.
though.
It's
that's
nice to
good.
see you're all happy and bubbly.
Yes.
I'm just taking it all in. That's
I
all.
bet you are.
Hey, Jazz. I just realised what you said.
Fuck's sake, Brett. Fucking hell.
Oh.
But it's good to see you find happiness. It really is.
Thank you.
Everybody should be happy.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Jules, on a positive note, it makes it sound like it's a bad thing to start off with. I'm with somebody, I'm just going to go up the corner and slip my wrists.
Oh, thank you, Sky. Thank you. You're okay, Jesse.
Jules,
We
on
had
a
our fun.
positive note, you are looking extremely healthy right now. Does that mean you normally look like a zombie then?
Probably. Probably.
Oh, it's how I feel right now. So I'm just going to go and grab me a coffee. I'll be back in a sec. I need livening
Okay.
up again.
It certainly is, Mandy. Life is too short. Oh, thank you. So do all you. I think you're all amazing.
You know, back on the paranormal topic. I don't know if many people have seen my video where I done a forest sort of surveillance kind of thing.
Hmm.
And when I went around the forest, I've been at this forest 4 or 5 times, and I discovered something different. Now there was a bench. There was a bench that was always there, but there was a cross, and there was a person's name on it. And I was there and I was going, I don't know what's going on here. And there's flowers and there's rosary beads hanging off the cross. This is on the bank of the river, and I'm going, right, I'm not going to jump to conclusions here. So if I find out any information, I'll put it in right now. So when I go home after I do my surveillance and that, I find out that there's an accident. There's been an accident in 2002, and a young lad drowned. You know.
Oh, wow. Yep.
So I'm stuck in this situation where a lot of people won't. A lot of people they'll say, "Oh, you should have took the spirit box out," and stuff like that. Here's the problem: you're in a small town. You're in that town often enough. You've got friends in that town. In Ireland, news travels fast, right?
Hmm.
If I went and done anything like that, it would have been considered disrespectful. And news would have went around the town, and I would have been cancelled in real life. But for some reason, some people don't see that moral boundary. I can't touch any of that stuff.
Yeah.
It'd be different if it was somebody who had died 100 years ago or whatever. I can go there, but a young person that died in 2002, it's to me, I think a boundary for me, a moral boundary is crossed if you start calling out for the person or whatever. But you see, people do
Absolutely.
it. People do it all the time.
Hmm.
I went to do a part two. I went to do a part two because it's good to go back, you know. And I arrived. I was at my friend's house for a couple of hours. Then it started to rain. Then it got very cold, and then it got very windy. And then there was another search for another incident of a similar kind along the river. And this was the Irish Coast Guard and the Gardaí is the police. And the Irish Coast Guard has this one of these helicopters, and they're huge. And when they're hovering over, they're very close to the town. They're not that far up, but it's so big that the whole town shakes. And it's
Yeah.
got all these lights around it. My friend was saying that looks like a spaceship, you know. But that put part two out of the scene because you know it's one of those things I can't cross that boundary of somebody that died recently or whatever. I can't go down that paranormal route where a lot of people would take out the spirit box and start calling out his name and stuff like that. I just no, can't do that.
No.
You know.
It's like when when I go to the cemetery and have a wander through, I always go to the kind of older section and have a wander through and things like that. But I never go into um, the baby section, and I never go into anything that is newer. I always kind of just go through the old stuff and admire what's there.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mm.
I I I I came to a moral dilemma Christmas last year, where I went to a modern cemetery, which I thought was old at the time. I was looking for a place to film, so I took my night vision camera out there. But I,
Sorry, I'm just laughing at Sky's comments.
Oh my god, I've never heard him referred to as that. Oh
um,
damn. Um,
you
she
know,
she says, "I do not film freshies or anything after the early '80s." Sorry, no
uh,
disrespect. It's just funny.
um, I done this video, and then I thought, am I crossing a boundary here? I didn't call anybody out as such, anybody that was on a gravestone or anything like that. But I filmed it, and I thought at the end of the day, I did put it out. But what I felt was it was done around the Christmas time, and some of these graves had been decorated with Christmas decorations and lights, and
Mhm.
there was one where it was like a sitting room where there was the Christmas stockings hanging up and stuff like that, and it was so flippin' emotional. And then there was this area where there was stillborns in a little circle and stuff like that, and it was a paranormal investigation, but I think it was, to me, it was more. It was the emotions I felt, you know, people losing loved ones, people losing a child, all that kind of thing, all came flooding through. And there was times where I had to turn off the camera and gather my thoughts and stuff like that. But there's some times where I think some people would do anything for YouTube,
Yeah.
and they would cross moral boundaries where other people wouldn't do that. You know?
I, to be honest with you, I think YouTube's one of them, and it's like any social media platform. Morals tend to go out the window in the name of entertainment and views for some people. And
To,
it surprises me that the depths some people, even now, it still surprises me the depths that some people will sink to for for views and likes and stuff.
Yeah.
this is the way I look at something, right? Right, we're going to pick a person that it comes up a lot. Say Michael Jackson, right?
Hmm.
Somebody wants to do a spurt box session of Michael Jackson. You can believe it that it works or it doesn't, but just say people do. What I would do, which would probably be impossible, is reach out to the family, because in a way I'm using Michael Jackson's name in a video. I wouldn't just. I don't know. I can't just. I can't just use somebody's name and just not contact somebody and say, "Listen, I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing. Do you mind if I do this?" But nobody. A lot of people just don't. You know, famous people. They just put their name in the title. It's going to get clicks. It's going to get views.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No consideration. No communication with other people belong to the family or anything like that. I don't. That's not the way I like to work. I'd rather, even if it
The,
was.
That is right across YouTube, though, Sam. It ain't just the paranormal community. The amount of times I have watched videos lately on YouTube because of the title, and I've watched the video to the end, and what's mentioned in the title never actually appears in the video is unbelievable lately.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, there's, and I know YouTube can't, but there's absolutely no policing of it whatsoever. And basically, you know, it is misrepresentation if you think about it.
it is. But and then what happens is factual and entertainment clickbait gets all mixed up, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
a needle in the haystack.
Yeah.
Where
know,
you got
you've got to question when people are more concerned about the thumbnail than the video content.
But it's kind of obvious. Please smash that like button, folks. You know?
Don't forget
Every
to like and subscribe, folks.
check out our merch, folks. Do you know? Every 5 minutes a call to action, it does my head in.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of and then begging for money. All this
Yeah.
begging for flipping money.
Yeah.
Do you know? And it does my head in because some people beg for money, but they don't want to do the work, and they've been doing it for years. And you know, behind it all, some of us are financially struggling as well.
Yeah.
You know, I've had the last number of months have been a complete and utter disaster, and you know, it was a struggle. But I wouldn't reach out and ask for money because you know this is it's something that I have to deal with, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But if you're a big influencer, it seems to be okay because you've got that fan base, and a lot of people think, well, that's okay, and they won't question it. They'll donate money. You got a lot of these influencers. Well, guys, we're going to go and do this investigation. But the thing is, folks, we need your money. Because we need travel expenses, we need to stay overnight, and we need £350 to investigate this castle. The thing is, we don't have the money, but if you could help us out, we promise you that we will do this castle. And it's the psychological manipulation. It happened a lot with exploring with purpose, where they actually had a lot of money, but they were begging for money for tires and expenses.
And then it turned out he got a turnover of 3 million a year, was it?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jared recently bought a house for 1.2 million or something like that. And a lot of the people that were working with him were volunteers that weren't getting money. So, you know, and it was the viewers that were donating money. Ryan Upchurch donated £100,000 for the recovery of a recent missing persons case where a lot of the ITC people get their names for doing their spirit box sessions.
Yeah.
You know, and he donated 100,000 quid and a Hellcat, and now he wants it back because of different things that's been happening.
Yeah. But the thing is, Sam, with these paranormal channels, when they come on and say, you know, we need £350 to do this, that, or the other, they know damn well it's going to be far in excess of that they get in the end. I remember a few years ago, I watched one of the big UK paranormal channels over here, and I watched it for 5 minutes, and I sat here with Jace, and we were totting up all the super chats and stuff, and in that space of 5 minutes, they had raked in £400 just on super chats in the space of 5 minutes.
You know, I've seen that. You know, they get a big following, And then some people, they don't read out comments unless you do a super
Yeah, and
chat.
that's exactly what they were doing. That was exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, you know, and what we do is we come together to talk about a common interest. You know what I mean? That's just what we do. We're not in. If the main focus is the money, they don't really care too much about their subscribers, and that's when they say we love you guys, which is a load of bullshit.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time.
This is why I've always said I wouldn't want a massive channel. I'd rather be on a channel where people come in the chat who I talk to every week, who you get to know and you can have a good chat with. You look at these big channels and everybody is just a number to them. They are literally just a number and a wallet, and that is how these big channels view people.
I think the bigger the channel you get, the more likely you're going to get somebody that's going to threaten to do you in on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And some crazy stuff. You're going to get hate. You're going to get more hate. The bigger the channel, doesn't matter what you do, paranormal or otherwise, you're going to attract the crazies the bigger you get. And you kind of have to have a thick skin for all of that. But I like the small communities where you can interact with everybody, and it's much easier kind of thing.
Yeah.
Brad! Look, Tara's saying, Brett, go.
Sam's put her glasses on to
You're-
read the comments.
You're gonna get me demonetized.
Now that's allowed.
Is it?
Yeah, as long as you don't swear, and as long as you don't get like graphic, it's allowed.
Well, you can
Get graphic.
well, you can swear, but it depends on what you swear.
Yeah.
Depend.
Yeah, believe it or not, you're actually allowed to swear in videos. I think the only thing that YouTube insists on is that you don't do it in the first 20 seconds of the video,
Or
and it ain't every other word sort of thing. Because all of us on here drop one occasionally, but I wouldn't want to be on somebody's channel and effing and blinding constantly anyway. I think it's a bit disrespectful.
Yeah.
I'd rather just make rude innuendo comments in your comment section. It's more fun.
You never let us down in that respect, Brett.
Yeah, it does. It does come out, and it does come out when you get passionate about something or whatever, or you get angry and stuff. It's understandable. I think it's the first 30 seconds, though.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I know it's the start of the video.
Yeah, don't say fuck in the first 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
After that, you're fine.
I gave up doing it, Sky. It becomes an obsession with the block list. Before you really, it's right what Sky says there. If you start doing your block list, you before you know it, you've got a dictionary.
Oh yeah. Do you know some people use a curse word to express a passion of some kind? But if you're going to do it in the comments, spell it wrong.
I'll tell you what I tend to do. If I put it in the comments, I tend to use the Irish version of feck because I don't think it sounds as bad, but people still get what you mean.
Yeah, I spell the F word FCUK.
Yeah, I'll spell it FECK, as in the Irish way of saying it.
Sky said she showed her dolls in one of her video, and YouTube, like the automatic thing, picked them up and thought they were kids. So she had to object to it.
Do you know, I actually last year on Facebook I actually posted a picture, and it's a bloke in shorts on a boat, and his wife is sitting on his lap, and he's got his hand down in his lap, and because of her legs, it looks like he's sitting with his legs wide open, and his willy's hanging down his finger. And it's like a common. And Facebook actually blocked the picture saying it was sexually graphic, and it's two fully clothed people sitting on each other's laps. I kid you not.
Yeah, that's
I've seen some of the stuff people get put in Facebook jail for, and I'm surprised because I sometimes share some stuff that I'm kind of like, well, that might get me in trouble, and it doesn't. So yeah.
Yeah, I've got a 3. I've only ever been blocked once on Facebook. I think it was for 3 days. And I can't, and it weren't even anything bad I said. I think it was somewhere about COVID, and they stuck me in Facebook jail for 3 days.
There's a thing going on with Twitter now where Elon, you know where you get a verification mark.
Yeah.
You're selling them now, isn't he?
Yeah, everybody can have a verification mark for $8 a month. So people were buying their $8 a month, and then they were impersonating Elon Musk just to piss him off, and then loads of people are getting blocked and stuff like that. But Twitter, I don't know what's going to happen after all this. He's fired a lot of his staff, and a lot of them have walked away from him because of, and he's probably going to get sued for the way he's dismissing people or whatever. But it'd be interesting to see what Twitter becomes after the dust settles and all of this.
He makes me very nervous, Elon Musk, because he says he's all for the people and this, that, and the other, and yet he produces things that only the rich can afford and stuff like that. That guy, what he says and what he actually does, if you look at him, are poles apart. I'm very wary about that guy.
And do you know, if you are on YouTube and you say that Tesla cars look like dolphins and are not as good as you think they are, you will get hate for that. And nobody, you know what I mean? And they're not that great of cars. I don't think they look that fantastic, to be honest with you.
No, mate.
I just think they look like a car that hasn't been finished at the front. It's got no personality. The grill is kind of the face. Some cars have a smiley face, some cars have a menacing face. It just looks like a dolphin's face. It's and then the inside of it, people say they're luxury and that. I see it, it's very bland and stuff. But if you say that on YouTube, which I've just said, but if you're a big influencer, say that on YouTube, you will get a lot of hate. Don't say anything about the panel gaps being uneven and stuff like that, because you're going to get hate. And that's because people are surrounding themselves with yes people. And if you say no, you're going against the grain, and you're going to get shit for it.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something dodgy about Elon Musk that I don't trust. He's I don't know, what he says and what he does seem to be like at odds with one another. Are you going to carry on texting, or are you going to run your channel?
No, I'm actually looking for my merch link for Mandy.
Yeah, that's right, folks. Check out the merch.
Julie'sAdultToys.com.
Fred!
Remember a couple of streams ago, I had this T-shirt on, and it kind of creased in a kind of a strange way right here, and it turned into Hayden SEX World Champion.
Yeah, you got sex splattered across your chest for the entire stream.
It just happened to crease in the right sort of way, where it twisted the K and then hit one of the...
That was hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing about it.
You
Every
couldn't.
time, every time I looked at you, all I could see was hide and sex.
Yeah, and you couldn't do it if you tried, like.
No.
You know.
How difficult is it to find your merch store?
I never went for merch or I never went for members. I have members, but I have an option of having members. But
I've
then
got
you
a
have to.
merch store, but I only did it because I wanted a t-shirt for myself and an hoodie.
Oh, you should see my jumper. I've worn it that much. You can't make out my logo anymore. And
Yeah,
the haunted look on the
my
back is
hoodie
gone.
is still fine, but the t-shirt, the logos wore off it, most of it.
I find it hard enough to put content on my channel for people to look for free. Then you have to go into. A lot of people open up members and they don't do anything with it. People join members and then they don't get content. I don't want to be one of those people, so I didn't bother with members.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
All right, I'm going to finish it alive.
Julie's on a promise, has got to get off quick.
Oh.
No, sure. No.
See, guys, see that what I typed in chat was prophetic.
No, the girls are fighting and they're going to go to bed and stuff. Oh. So, yeah. Stop it, Brett. I can see you staring at me through your picture.
I'm trying not to spit coffee on the screen.
Just to remind people when they stream is finished, please make a comment down below. It helps with the videos and stuff like that. It'd be well appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
We do read all your comments.
We do.
Yeah, and if there's something that you guys want us to talk about in a future stream or something, jot that down as well.
Yeah.
And we can have discussions on that. So yeah, but thank you everybody for coming in and joining us. We had a really good discussion tonight, as we always do. Thank you, Sam.
Sorry. It's actually good, Jazz, because I can actually mention it now. I had to keep quiet all week long and not say nothing. I don't even mention it to Sam because I don't know whether you told Sam or not.
No, not yet.
So, do you know how hard it is for me to keep quiet for an entire week?
Thank you, both of you, for coming on.
Thank you for
and
having us.
Chatting with me.
Yep. Thanks for having us on. It's nice
welcome.
to have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we will see you guys next week at the normal time. Brett and Sam's links are pinned to the top of the chat, as always. So, we'll see you next time.
Have fun, everybody. Have a good day, night, evening. Bye.
Good luck.